Vote counting underway in the Philippines. Sarawak a rising tiger in renewable energy. Bank Negara to hike rates next quarter. Those are the headlines for tonight. I'm Cheryl Shaminato and this is TVS Nightline. In the Philippines, vote counting is underway in the Philippine elections on Monday as polling stations closed, with Ferdinand Marcos Jr. touted to be the favorite by retaining his wide lead to win the presidential race. Presidential candidate Marcos Jr. had 20 million votes versus 9.49 million votes for rival Leni Robredo in an unofficial tally as of 10 p.m. Polling stations officially closed at 7 p.m. with some polling stations forced to stay open for last-minute voters due to long queues and system glitches. The official counting of ballots is expected to start on Tuesday, but the unofficial count by the Election Commission, accredited watchdog, will start later on Monday. In other matters, Premier of Sarawak Dato' Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tunapeng today told an international audience that Sarawak is a rising tiger in renewable energy and is ready to welcome the investment of other countries in developing green economy. Speaking at the World Hydrogen Summit in Rotterdam on Monday, Abang Johari sings praises of Sarawak's aspiration to become the main hydrogen-producing hub within the region.
Sarawak is hydrogen ready. I am essentially saying that Sarawakian hydrogen economy is at its heart. Building an ecosystem where our resources are in abundance, the infrastructure is sufficient, the expertise is available, and the supply and value chains are well established.
Part of Sarawak's post-COVID-19 development strategy 2030, Abang Johari said Sarawak is now the renewable energy powerhouse in Malaysia, supplying clean energy to almost 3 million people across Sarawak and in West Kalimantan. In the same keynote speech, Abang Johari said Sarawak is keen on developing alternative aviation fuels, such as sustainable aviation fuel (SAF), in a bid to further accelerate Sarawak's green energy agenda. According to him, the sustainable aviation fuel will contribute to the reduction of carbon emissions by more than 80% compared to fossil fuel. Abang Johari, who is also the Minister of Finance and New Economy, said that alternative aviation fuels could be the key to sustainable air travel and could contribute hugely to the industry's emissions reduction strategy and net zero emissions goal.
And Bank Negara will keep its interest rate steady this week to support a still growing economic recovery. However, Reuters poll suggests that it might start tightening policy next quarter to prevent rising inflationary pressures.
In a poll of 18 economists from April 28 to May 6, they predicted that Bank Negara Malaysia (BNM) to keep its overnight policy rate unchanged at 1.75% on Wednesday. That move was in stark contrast to other major central banks, which are hiking interest rates at a much faster rate than earlier thought to bring down the stubbornly high inflation. For now, Bank Negara enjoys the liberty of keeping rates low as price pressures remain subdued, but supply chain disruptions and the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war pose a major risk to that outlook. But a handful of participants predict a rate hike to come as early as this month. However, the survey findings suggested a hike of 25 basis points next quarter to 2%, followed by another quarter-point hike in Q4 to end the year at 2.25%. Those expectations were unchanged from an April poll. BNM now expects the Malaysian economy to grow between 5.3% to 6.3% this year, slightly lower than the previously projected 5.5% to 6.5% on higher global demand and stronger commodity prices.
Sarawak is blessed with a wide variety of marine products being surrounded by the sea. As such, the fishery sector has long been considered a provider of important foods and supports the health and economy. Hence, it is crucial to ensure a stable supply of fishery products and to properly develop the industry.
A new fishery policy will promote efficient industrialization and transform the northern region of Sarawak into a fishing industrial zone.
Dan kita akan buat segala zon. Ada sekurang-kurangnya 4 zon di awal-awal. Dan ini akan kita buat secara berbeda untuk sasaran. Dan kita juga insyaAllah satu jalan lagi akan dibuat yang menghubungkan terus kepada pusat perindustrian. Satu kajian sudah dibuat, kita telah engage dan syarikat daripada Singapura untuk designing plan for industrial area. Dan ini termasuk proposal daripada negara China untuk meletakkan untuk membuat proyek mereka. Dan ini akan dihubungkan dengan jalan raya. Airport baru pun sudah jauh daripada Indonesia. Jadi kita membuat perencanaan secara holistik, secara menyeluruh. Dan dari segi local plan kita untuk kampung ini kita sudah ada roughly what we are supposed to and what we are going to do. Bukan saja melibatkan dari segi penggunaan infrastruktur dan aktiviti ekonomi.
Tengah, who is also Bukit Sari State Assemblyman, wants the community in Awat-Awat to partake in the initiative so that both can bear the fruit of their labor.
Jadi, jangan takut, jangan ada rasa rendah diri. Kalau petani bersatu padu kerja kuat, insyaAllah kita akan dapat mengubah nasib kita. Yang penting sekarang ini, kita tentukan usaha bagaimana untuk membantu rakyat. Untuk rakyat dapat meningkatkan kesejahteraan hidup. Bagaimana kami dapat membantu kebajikan masyarakat.
Earlier, Tengah spoke at the Ramah Tamah Idul Fitri with over 1,000 attendees at Awat-Awat on Sunday.
Malaysia's low-cost carrier airline, AirAsia, is looking into the viability of having a new Cebu-Singapore round trip. State Transport Minister Dato Sri Lee Kim Shin said the ministry had also requested the airline to increase the number of flights to Sarawak.
Lee said apart from AirAsia, meetings had also been held with Malindo Air, Firefly and Maswings as Sarawak wants to increase flights into the state following the reopening of its borders. The state government also intends to revive the Kuching-Pontianak sector, which was suspended after the COVID-19 pandemic struck. Last week, Royal Brunei Airlines had resumed twice weekly flights to Kuching, while Scoot Tiger Air resumed its Singapore-Kuching sector with 5 flights weekly from April 3rd.
And now on to the next update. A 7-year-old boy was found dead at his house at mile 11th of Jalan Oya in Cebu. Cebu Police Chief Assistant Police Commissioner Zulkifli Suhaili said the boy was believed to have been bitten by a poisonous snake while playing in his backyard.
According to Zulkifli, police received a report regarding the incident from the Cebu hospital at 12:01 a.m. on Monday. Investigation found 2 bite marks believed to be of a snake on his left heel. The victim, however, was pronounced dead by a medical officer on Friday at 10:46 p.m. Zulkifli pointed out that the postmortem could only be carried out on Monday following a COVID-19 test showing positive result. According to the victim's mother, the victim returned home in a weak state before falling unconscious and was rushed to the hospital. The case has been classified as sudden death.
Coming up after the break, KPD and HEP to investigate AirAsia's flights delay issues. Sri Lanka running low on liquid petroleum. Right here on TVS Nightline. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Nightline. Issue of delays and rescheduling of domestic flights involving AirAsia has caught the attention of the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry. Its Minister, Dr. Sri Alexander Nandalinggi, noted that the such ongoing issues have been detected by the Ministry involving several destinations nationwide since last month.
In a Twitter post, Nanta said the ministry will continue to conduct investigations from the aspect of consumers' interests and will work with the Transport Ministry to resolve the issue. Through the Twitter thread, Nanta also shared some complaints and grievances of consumers who were dissatisfied with the rescheduling of AirAsia flights, which were posted on social media. He also reminded consumers of their right to claim compensation to continue their journey, adding that this was subject to several factors and reasons for flight delays or cancellations based on information from the Malaysian Aviation Commission MAVCOM website.
Domestic and international flights to Sarawak will increase rapidly by the end of 2022. Minister of Tourism, Creative Industry and Performing Arts, Dr. Sri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, is confident that through the state's tourism products that are currently being promoted, the goal of achieving its tourist target is now possible, especially with many upcoming international events being held in Sarawak.
More or less reached to the stage where the flights that are coming into Sarawak now is more or less about the same as the one before COVID-19. If I'm not mistaken, we are already at about 600 plus a week. We are very confident that more international conferences as well as sport events will soon be coming to our shows. In short, we are back in business.
Among the major events are the Kuching and Miri marathons to be held in October and November, respectively. Karim anticipates participations from Bruneians, Singaporeans and West Malaysians as registration for the marathon have begun.
what are the categories for Kuching Marathon. There are 4 categories: the 5 kilometer, the 10 kilometer, the half marathon that is 21 kilometers, and the full marathon that is 42 kilometer. For the Miri marathon, I understand just now from what has been explained, there are only 2 categories. 3 categories: the 42 kilometer, that is a full marathon; the half marathon, 21 kilometer, and the 10 kilometer. They don't have. Well, I'm pleased to also announce that runners can now do their online registration at the respective website through www.marathonkuching.com and www.marathonmiri.com from today's onward.
The lineup for the 17th edition of the Borneo Jazz Festival has been announced. Themed Jazz in the Jungle, this year's performance will feature prodigious names in jazz from the United States, Japan, Singapore, and even Sarawak.
Back after a 2-year hiatus, this year's event will be held in a hybrid manner, both physically and virtually.
And although we have lifted up all our borders, restriction and so forth, it is a real test for the industry in itself and the concert in itself to bring in visitors to the state of Sarawak. We have done and we have looked into curating it as cross-generational kind of a event where the young and the old, will enjoy the music.
According to the event artistic director Evelyn He, expect cross-generational genres from soul to bossa nova, new jazz to hip-hop. Among the headliners include Steve Thornton and his band Afro Asia, Asia Beat, Alame Fernandez and Richard Jackson, and Q Sound. Outside of the main stage, visitors can also look forward to the pre-festival activities such as the Eco Drum Workshop, which include the participation of school students and the Sape Evolution.
So we work closely with Miri Partners, Miri City Council and My Living Arts to take recyclable waste, transforming them into drum and percussion instruments.
To be held in Coco Cabana, Miri, the Borneo Jazz Festival will be held from June 24th to June 26th.
The government has upgraded the public sector data center into a cloud computing service known as MyGov Cloud. MyGov Cloud initiative is in line with the 5th initiative under Thrust 1 of the Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint, or MyDigital, which targets 80% usage of cloud computing storage across the public sector this year.
Prime Minister Dato Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said it is aimed at driving the public sector digital transformation in a holistic manner to spur the growth of the digital economy and digitalization agenda throughout the country. MyGov Cloud operates in a hybrid manner by combining the services of private cloud at PDSA and public cloud of the cloud service provider appointed by the government. To empower MyGov Cloud, especially in the provision of public cloud services, a central cloud computing contract agreement known as Cloud Framework Agreement was signed between the government, CSP, and managed service providers, a local cloud Bumiputra service provider appointed by CSP. The CFA contract between the government, CSP, and MSP involves 4 CSP companies, namely Amazon Web Services Malaysia Sdn Bhd, Google Cloud Malaysia Sdn Bhd, Microsoft Malaysia Sdn Bhd, and Telekom Malaysia Berhad. The 4 MSP companies involved are Cloud Connect Sdn Bhd, Emphasis Solutions Sdn Bhd, Radmix Solutions Sdn Bhd, and Awantech System Sdn Bhd. The selection of CSP was made after the request for proposal of service provider companies in the country were evaluated by various parties in a transparent manner. Meanwhile, the involvement of the CSP and MSP was expected to generate potential investments in the country worth 12 billion ringgit to 15 billion ringgit by 2025.
And strong oil and gas and higher commodity prices will bolster the Malaysian government's balance sheet, leading to more infrastructure investments, which will directly correlate with gross domestic product or GDP growth.
JulyIQ Group co-founder and Group Chief Executive Officer Kashif Ansar in a statement today said higher revenue would reduce the budget deficit, giving the government more room for fiscal maneuvering to manage future crises. He also said that palm oil accounts for 6.5% of total exports, with March exports of palm oil and related agriculture products amounting to 8.52 billion ringgit, 56% higher than a year ago. Indonesia's palm oil export ban will also help Malaysia to further increase its market share. Meanwhile, JulyIQ also expects 2022 GDP to be between 4% and 5%, a significant achievement in a likely environment of slower global growth. The Malaysian government has made progress in restoring macroeconomic stability with policies that have supported considerable growth over the last 17 months. However, 2022 would still be a challenging year ahead due to fallout from geopolitical issues, the COVID-19 pandemic, and supply chain disruptions would weigh on the Malaysian economy, as would its trading partners.
Thank you for staying with me. And now on to our world affairs. Yoon Suk-yeol seals surge to the summit of South Korean politics on Tuesday, May 10, when the man who once dreamt of becoming a pastor but was nicknamed Fighting Cock for his tenacity as a prosecutor is sworn in as president.
Yoon formally joined politics when he announced his candidacy in June 2021 after he was courted by the conservative bloc for showcasing his relentless nature through filing bribery charges against a key aide to outgoing President Moon Jae-in, the same man who hired him. This became his cause for the recent election, to fight corruption and to elevate the country's economic playing field while seeking a tougher line on North Korea.
이제 우리는 이런 부패하고 무능한 세력의 집권 연장과 국민 약탈을 막아야 합니다. 여기에 동의하는 모든 국민과 세력은 힘을 합쳐야 합니다. 그래서 반드시 정권 교체를 이루어내야 합니다.
His colleagues have described him as feisty and gregarious, which led to him climbing the career ladder. Even so, he values trust among peers and loves socializing over drinks, maintaining long-standing links with friends who now occupy key government and corporate posts. He spent more than 2 decades in the legal service, putting many behind bars for corruption. His principle is somewhat rare to many, as he tells lawmakers that he is not loyal to any person other than the law itself, rather than those in power.
Following Sri Lanka's state of emergency, the country is now experiencing major shortages of liquid petroleum gas, mainly used for cooking. The shortage was caused by a crash of the Sri Lankan rupee, with additional pressure for the ongoing pandemic, rising oil prices and tax cuts by the populist government of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
Gas Chairman Vijita Herath stated that Sri Lanka's foreign exchange crisis had caused a severe gas shortage, with the company struggling to find adequate funds for payment. Fortunately, their president will be channeling $7 million from the central bank to pay for a 3,500 metric tons of gas shipment expected to arrive on Tuesday, May 10th. However, this is far from sufficient, as the country's monthly consumption requires a minimum of 40,000 metric tons of liquid petroleum gas, which costs about $40 million. Its finance minister Ali Sabri last week said Sri Lanka has only $50 million of usable foreign reserves. Another key player of Sri Lanka's oil and gas company, Lauf Gas, has less than 2,000 million tons of gas, which has been reserved for industries and hospitals. Its chairman, WHK Wegapitiya, stated that Sri Lanka is a bankrupt nation and that banks does not have sufficient funds for them to open lines of credit.
A pioneering British Jetsuit company is giving superhuman powers to the response of emergency services for search and rescue missions in remote locations in the north of England.
Jamie Walsh, a Great North Air Ambulance GNAAS paramedic, is the first of 3 trainees to fly the Gravity Industries Jetsuit in the steep hills of the Lake District after just 6 lessons. Walsh said initially when he was told about this, he thought it is impossible, but feels that there is a place where this can benefit patients. Jetsuit inventor and developer Richard Browning flew a test route up Helvellyn, completing a 750 meters climb over a 2 kilometers distance in around 3 minutes and 40 seconds. The 3D printed suit consists of 2 small turbines attached to each arm and a larger one mounted on the back. It can reach speeds in excess of 80 miles per hour or 128 kilometers per hour and is technically capable of reaching an altitude of 12,000 feet or 3,650 meters, but for safety reasons is flown much lower. The next stage of the project is to get the paramedics' flight skills to a level where real emergency assistance will arrive via Jetsuit paramedics in the Lake District, providing on-site triage and urgent casualty response in a matter of minutes rather than hours.
And that feature concludes TVS Nightline for tonight. For recurring updates, follow our headlining stories on our website at TVSTVMY or follow us on our TVS official Facebook page. Here with me, Shosha Meto, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.